Hi everyone, I'm Katie Zimmerman. I'm the custody attorney for the Safe at Home campaign in the Lancaster office of MidPenn Legal Services. Marika Merritt is also here with me today to talk about the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on child custody in central Pennsylvania. Who we are, we're MidPenn Legal Services. We're a nonprofit law firm who provides civil legal services for low-income residents of central Pennsylvania and survivors of domestic violence. Our practice area ranges from landlord-tenant to custody to PFA to mortgage foreclosure. If there's a legal issue that you're dealing with, you can call our office and there's a very good chance we might be able to help you in some way. As everyone knows by now, Governor Tom Wolf has issued a stay-at-home order. And what this means is that we are not to leave our residence unless we are doing one of the individual activities that are allowed under the order and some sort of essential travel. One of the areas that the governor has allowed for travel and for us to leave our homes is to effectuate court orders. That includes custody orders. And so if you have a custody order and it is time to exchange under the order, you are allowed to leave your home and travel in order to effectuate the order. So meaning in order to exchange your child with the other parent. A full list of the activities can be found on Pennsylvania's government website. Otherwise, we're being told to stay calm, stay home, and stay safe.
Again, I'm Marika Merritt. I'm one of the custody attorneys at MidPenn in the Lancaster office. Most PA courts are only hearing new custody cases if they are an emergency at this time. If not an emergency, many of the courts are still allowing people to file, but the filing will sit until the courthouse is open and scheduling new conferences and hearing dates. What is an emergency? This isn't defined and it will differ from county to county. I would think all counties would consider it an emergency if the child was in immediate danger. Contracting COVID-19 may or may not be considered an immediate danger. Again, if you're unsure if it's an emergency, the best thing you could do is contact your local legal aid office or the courthouse to ask about the emergency procedure. If you truly believe the child is in immediate danger, you should contact the police and request a welfare check, as well as contacting children and youth. Please understand that the other parent withholding the child does not mean the child is in immediate danger. Some courts are having remote conferences and hearings. In Lancaster County, many custody conferences are now being held via video conference. And if you're unsure and you have a court date coming up, you should contact your local courthouse.
So like Marika touched on, there are some steps you can take if you believe your child is in danger. The first step that you could possibly take is asking the local police department to do a welfare check. You have to understand, however, that police departments are also taking their own precautions at this time to avoid their personnel from contracting COVID-19. And so they may have different ways of doing welfare checks than what they have previously done in the past. But the important thing for parents to remember is that it really needs to be a real emergency for you to contact the police in order to do one of these welfare checks. The second thing that you could do is contact Children and Youth Services. The way that you would do this is to make a report on Childline, and then at that point, Children and Youth Services is mandated to look into whatever that report is. The next step you could take is contacting us, MidPenn Legal Services, or your local legal aid office if it's not in our service area. You can contact us to get some advice on how you should proceed and get advice on what your local courthouse is doing at this time. The other option, obviously, is to contact your local courthouse. Look at your local courthouse county website. I believe most of the judges, if not all, in Pennsylvania have probably issued their own emergency orders. And so you might be able to get a lot of information from your local courthouse website.
And so one question we've received quite a bit is, what if the other parent won't return the child? Many courts have directed that orders are to be followed unless an emergency petition is filed and relief is granted. There are some courts, however, who have taken other steps, such as suspending all custody orders and directing that the child stay where he or she was at a certain date. It's important to review your courthouse website or contact your local legal aid if you have any questions about what to do during this time. If there is a court order, you do not want to risk a contempt filing when the courts reopen. If the other parent won't return the child to you or allow any visits, there may not be much that you can do until the courthouse is back up and running. Again, you can check your local courthouse's order or call your local legal aid or courthouse with questions. At the bottom of this screen, we have a website where all of the local court orders have been listed. And I believe it's updated every time a new order is put out.
Another question we've received is, what if I don't want to send my child to the other parent? I know we sort of sound like a broken record, but you should check your local courthouse website to look at any administrative emergency order that has been issued. That order would tell you what your courthouse is doing at this point with regard to custody orders. The other option, obviously, is to contact legal services. We might be able to provide you some advice on what your local courthouse is doing. If you have some serious concerns about someone in the other parent's house, you really should communicate with the other parent. Talk to them about your concerns and see if there's some way you guys can reach an agreement. That's the easiest way to work through any issue in custody, is to communicate with the other parent. I've had many parents who are working out agreements on their own. If one of the other parents is in the medical field and that parent feels as though it's unsafe to have the child, the parents are working out those agreements on their own. You do not need to have a court order to amend your custody order. However, you can't do it unilaterally. And so if one parent says, well, I don't feel safe with the child there, but the other parent disagrees, you still have to follow the court order unless the court gives you emergency relief. And that would require a petition for special relief to the courthouse. If you don't follow the court order that's in place, you do open yourself up to a possible contempt filing when the courts reopen. And when you're making decisions, you really need to keep in mind the best interest of your child when you're deciding whether or not to send he or she to a visitation. You need to remember that consistency is very important in a child's life, and everything's sort of been turned upside down for us and for them. And so it might be to their detriment to not continue to follow the court order, because that's something that they do rely on. And so before you and the other parent decide to suspend a court order, just keep in mind that they need to have that consistency in their life to see the other parent. So something that you could do if you decide that an in-person visit isn't best right now, you can set up a telephone schedule where the child can talk to the other parent that they aren't seeing. The other option is doing something like we're doing right now, which is a Zoom video or FaceTime. There's so many different ways for parents to stay in contact with children right now. And so I would suggest, if you do agree with the other parent to suspend the court order, that you use one of these other means to allow consistent contact between the parent who does not have the child and the child, just so they can maintain that contact. Unless there's a true risk of exposure to COVID-19, it may be best just to maintain the custody schedule. And bottom line is, you would have to file a petition for special relief if you want to suspend the court order and the other parent does not. And again, at the bottom, you'll see that we have included the link which has every county's order. And so you can see how your specific county is handling the coronavirus shutdown.
We've also been asked where to exchange the children. So if you have a court order, continue using the same location you've been using. That's the best way and the easiest way to continue exchanges. However, many times due to domestic violence or other issues between the parties, the parties agree to exchange at a public place. Obviously, with COVID-19, many places are closed or have limited hours. If the place where you typically exchange is closed or has limited hours, you should try to work out a new exchange location with the other party. It may be a good idea to carry your custody order with you just in case you're stopped by law enforcement to show that you do have a valid excuse for being out and meeting, especially if it's at a closed location.
A separate issue from child custody, which is related, is child support. Something we wanted everyone to be aware of is that child support obligations are continuing during this time. Everything else around us seems to be in a pause, but this is not one of those things. And so people will have to continue to make their support payments. Something that you should be aware of is any arrears that you may have for child support may affect you getting your stimulus check. In some situations, that stimulus money might go directly to paying your arrears. Most counties, if you are trying to file for support, are doing it online. So I would check your local courthouse or county website to see whether or not you're able to do that at this time. Also, something to be aware of, if you have a pending support conference, your county still might be holding court dates via telephone or video conferencing. And so you would just have to contact your local domestic relations office to get that information.
And if you still have questions about custody, please feel free to contact MidPenn. Even if you don't believe that you fall within our guidelines, just give us a call. If we can't help you, we can probably refer you to somewhere that could help you. To apply online, you can go to apply.midpenn.org or the phone number, which is 1-800-326-9177. We have a website. We also have Facebook and Twitter. Feel free to follow us. We are providing updates almost daily during this COVID-19 situation. There'll be more videos on different types of cases and legal issues you may have. But again, if you have more questions, please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you.